My grandfather once told me the key to life is waking up early in the morning and going to work. The hard part is finding the motivation and reason to get out of bed. It took me 30 years to truly wrap my head around what he was trying to say. He was showing me the value of consistency. Legends are born with it. Average Joes are plagued by it. Just because consistency is the father of success doesn't define or diminish a special moment in time. Some stars never grow big enough or shine bright enough to end their final chapter as a spectacular supernova. Some stars fizzle out and vanish before they can be recognized. Athletes and stars share this common trait. History is littered with the tales of gladiators who briefly shine for a fleeting moment only to vanish before their careers fully exploded. This is their contribution. This is their story. This is underrated. Wide receivers often push against conservative policies regarding player expression. Great wide receivers demand the football and play with tremendous passion and energy. Emotion has always been a vital part of competition dating back to the times of the Roman Empire. Today's fans, coaches, and media sometimes prefer humility over production on the field. As the passing stats increased, so did the scrutiny on wide receivers. For years, running backs were the most important players on the roster. Running backs like Jim Brown, Tony Dorsett, and O.J. Simpson were the prominent figures in the league. These iconic backs dominated the headlines and racked up yards on the ground. Leaving the 1970s, the league began to change. By the 1980s, quarterbacks and passing became the focus. The 80s was the golden era for legendary quarterbacks like Joe Montana, Dan Marino, and John Elway. Big-name receivers like T.O., Randy Moss, and Michael Irvin benefited from the new vertical passing era. They took full advantage of increased media attention and used press conferences and interviews to make themselves larger-than-life figures. In 2005, Braylon Edwards came out of the University of Michigan already stamped as the next great receiver. In the end, Edwards failed to live up to the hype. He will ultimately be remembered as a super talented receiver that lacked focus and consistency. When you look back at his career, you can't help but notice the spectacular season in 2007. Edwards put up numbers that rival some of the greatest receivers to ever play the game. Where is the former Browns receiver today? Why did he flame out after 2007? Did Browns fans really hate him just because he played at Michigan? Let's take a look back to 2005, where it all started. This is the underrated story of Braylon Edwards. Braylon Edwards was born February 21st, 1983. During his high school career at Bishop Gallagher, Edwards played a variety of positions. During his senior year, Edwards caught 63 receptions for 740 yards and 8 touchdowns. Edwards followed in his father's footsteps and committed to playing at Big Ten powerhouse Michigan. He played 4 seasons for Michigan from 2001 to 2004. During his senior year, Edwards set the Michigan school's single-season records for receptions with 97 and yards with 1,330. He also crushed the Michigan records for career receptions with 252, career yards with 3,541, and career touchdowns with 39. His 39 career touchdowns was also a Big Ten conference record at the time. In college, Braylon Edwards showed tremendous consistency. He set the Michigan career record for the most 100-yard receiving games with 17. In 2004, he won the Biletnikoff Award given to the nation's top wide receiver. In that same year, Edwards was named the Big Ten Conference MVP and a consensus All-America selection. At the time, Edwards was the only wide receiver in Big Ten history to gain 1,000 or more receiving yards in 3 consecutive years. Edwards concluded his college career with a bang. He scored 3 touchdowns in the 2005 Rose Bowl against Texas. In 2004, the Browns were coming off a 5-11 record from 2003. Due to injuries, poor quarterback play, and a brutal schedule, the Browns only managed to win 4 games in 2004. Following the season, the Cleveland Browns head coach and general manager Butch Davis resigned. Davis was succeeded by interim head coach Terry Robiskie. Robiskie, in turn, elevated tight end coach Rob Chudzinski to coordinator. In a bit of irony, Chudzinski was hired as the Browns' head coach in 2013. His tenure would be short-lived with the club as he was fired at the end of the season with a 4-12 record. Going into the 2005 draft, the Browns needed a weapon on the offensive side of the football. The Browns front office identified Edwards as the top wide receiver on the board. Leading up to the draft, the Michigan standout impressed teams with his size, playmaking ability, and top-end speed. While working out for teams, Edwards measured at 6'3" and weighed 202 pounds. More impressively, he ran a blazing 4.3. Edwards' athleticism cemented him as our first-round pick in the 2005 draft. In the 2005 draft, Edwards was selected number 3 overall by the Cleveland Browns. He started off his rookie season listed as the team's third wide receiver. This was in part due to him missing time in training camp while negotiating his contract. During training camp, Edwards revealed that he had developed a staph infection and would go on to miss more time due to health. After getting healthy, Edwards quickly moved up the depth charts and was placed in the starting lineup by midseason. Braylon Edwards made his NFL debut, later catching his first touchdown against the Green Bay Packers. In his rookie season, Edwards caught 32 passes for 512 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. He would only play in 10 games that season, starting in 7. 2005 would end badly for Edwards as he suffered a season-ending knee injury against the Jacksonville Jaguars. While rehabbing from knee surgery, Edwards developed a close bond with the Browns' 2004 first-round pick Kellen Winslow Jr. Winslow was also plagued by injuries early in his career. 2 games into his rookie season, Winslow suffered a broken right fibula and missed the rest of the 2004 season. In 2005, he suffered another leg injury in a motorcycle accident and missed the entire 2005 season. Edwards, Winslow, and quarterback Derek Anderson would go on to become the focal point of the Browns' dynamic passing attack in 2007. Both Winslow and Edwards were excited and determined to make a full recovery and become impact players. After successful knee surgery, Edwards was ready to play in the Browns' opening game in 2006. The young wide receiver replaced veteran Joe Jurevicius as the team's #1 target. The 2006 season would prove to be a breakout year in Cleveland. On a weekly basis, he reminded the fans why he was considered such a special talent. He made spectacular catches in traffic, was physical in runs after the catch, and had the uncanny ability to come down with jump balls over cornerbacks. In his second season with the Browns, Edwards totaled 61 receptions for 884 yards and 6 touchdowns. The wide receiver not only stepped his game up on the field, he also devoted more time and resources to charity. At the end of the 2006 season, Edwards announced he would give $500,000 to the University of Michigan as a scholarship endowment for football players. 2006 was a breakout year. However, things weren't all roses. The public began to see the darker side of Edwards' personality. In a regular season game that year, Edwards was seen having an altercation with quarterback Charlie Fry on the sidelines. Reportedly, the altercation was over video games. You heard me right. Video games. This incident displayed Edwards' lack of maturity and also raised red flags about his decision-making. Edwards also created negative headlines by calling out Mike Minter, Chris Gamble, Ricky Manning, and the entire secondary of the Carolina Panthers. The Browns receiver also went to the annual Michigan-Ohio State game after being advised not to go by several veteran captains. Edwards was late returning back from Columbus and was late to a team meeting. During this period of time, the Browns organization started to question if he was 100% dedicated to the game of football. Even a blind man could see his natural talent on display. The ultimate question was if he could avoid off-the-field drama. 2007 is where Braylon Edwards truly became a household name. The guy was the total package. He made big-time catches and developed great chemistry with Browns quarterback Derek Anderson. 2007 was one of the best years in decades for the Cleveland Browns. The team racked up 10 wins and barely missed the playoffs. Edwards made his first Pro Bowl, becoming the first Browns receiver to make the Pro Bowl since Webster Slaughter in 1989. Edwards also broke the team's franchise records for receiving yards with 1,289 and receiving touchdowns with 16. Edwards' 16 touchdowns was second most in the league behind only Randy Moss, who set an NFL record with 23 touchdowns. What really strikes me is the touchdowns. Currently, at the time of this video, Edwards' 16 touchdown catches is tied for 15th most in the history of the game. After blowing out his knee in his rookie year, Edwards bounced back by putting up elite numbers in back-to-back years. In 2006 and 2007, Edwards averaged 70 receptions, 1,086 receiving yards, and 11 touchdown catches. Like the Browns, Edwards had high expectations in 2008. The team was still riding high from the 10-win season in 2007. The Browns were a dark horse favorite to make the playoffs. Edwards was the talk of the town, and his buzz was at an all-time high. Never lacking confidence, Edwards even dared to compare himself to a certain basketball player in Cleveland by the name of King James. He also made a bet with Olympic gold medalist Michael Phelps and guaranteed that he would catch 17 touchdown passes in 2008. Little did Edwards know that he would never attain this level of production in his career again. It's a classic case of a young player becoming complacent. 2008 was one of the worst years in the history of the Cleveland Browns. The team got off to a dismal 3-5 start. The Browns also were amidst a full-blown quarterback controversy between Derek Henderson and 2007 first-round pick Brady Quinn. Edwards didn't do himself any favors by his play on the field. Long gone were the days of him out-jumping cornerbacks and making spectacular catches. In 2008, Edwards led the entire league in drop passes with 16. He went from 17 touchdowns in 2007 to only 3 touchdowns in 2008. There was always a segment of the Browns fan base that never fully embraced Braylon Edwards. Browns fans living in the city of Cleveland also identified as Ohio State Buckeye fans. As a former Michigan standout, Edwards effectively was seen as an outsider from the jump. He expressed that he often felt like an outcast when dealing with the local media. The hate for Michigan runs deep in the state of Ohio. But if you ask me, the drops and off-the-field issues were to blame for his ultimate demise. On December 29, 2008, following a disappointing 4-12 season, Romeo Crennel was fired by the Browns. On January 7, 2009, the Browns named Derek Mangini as their next head coach. Mangini immediately moved to change the culture in Cleveland by implementing a strict code of conduct. He faced early criticism in his tenure with the Browns. He routinely micromanaged the team and oftentimes disregarded the Browns' history and tradition. A former player characterized the atmosphere in the locker room under Mangini by saying, his coaching style alienated players so much that they seemed to be deep in despair with no fight left in them. When a new head coach takes over an underperforming football team, there is going to be shakeup with the roster. Braylon Edwards' off-field actions quickly placed him on the radar of the new administration. On March 14, 2009, fellow teammate Dante Stallworth struck and killed 59-year-old construction worker Mario Reyes while driving drunk. It was later found that Edwards had been drinking with Stallworth prior to the car accident. Edwards was not with Stallworth at the time of the accident and was not directly involved. The accident did, however, bring negative attention to Edwards and left the Browns organization and the NFL questioning his conduct off the field. Later that spring, the star receiver was an infrequent participant in the off-season program. He missed several practices in the off-season and training camp with an undisclosed injury believed to have occurred in a pickup basketball game. On October 5, 2009, Edwards reportedly punched Edward Givens, a local party promoter, in the face at 2:30 outside of the View Ultra Lounge and nightclub. Givens, who is an acquaintance of LeBron James, alleged that Edwards was jealous of James' success, thus prompting Edwards' attack. James characterized the attack as childish. Edwards was charged with misdemeanor assault and later pleaded no contest to the charge of aggravated assault. Edwards was given a suspended 180-day jail sentence, was fined $1,000, and placed on inactive probation. Though Edwards offered no explanation or apology for his actions, he reportedly regretted the entire ordeal according to his lawyer. Mangine didn't waste any time moving the disgruntled wide receiver. 2 days after the nightclub incident, Edwards was traded to the New York Jets for wide receiver Chancey Stuckey, linebacker Jason Trusnick, and a 3rd and 5th round draft pick in the 2010 NFL Draft. Edwards was excited to get out of Cleveland, and generally speaking, the fans of the organization were happy to see him gone. Edwards cited a need for a fresh start following the deal's completion. In 12 games for New York, Braylon had 35 catches for 541 yards and 4 touchdowns. His numbers never came close to his production in 2007, but to most in the Jets organization, Edwards was seen as a huge upgrade at receiver. That season, Braylon got his first taste of the postseason. In the Jets' first 2 games, Braylon only had 4 catches for 56 yards. In the AFC Championship against the Indianapolis Colts, Braylon stepped his game up and caught a touchdown pass to give the Jets their first points of the game. He finished the game with 2 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown as the Jets lost 30-17. Braylon Edwards remained with the New York Jets in 2010, but again faced off-field issues. In the early morning hours of September 21, 2010, Edwards was arrested on a drunken driving charge in New York. He was originally pulled over for having excessively tinted windows on his Range Rover. Police smelled alcohol. Edwards blew 0.16, which was twice the legal limit. He was arrested and charged with DWI. This incident added to his mounting legal problems. Edwards was still on probation from the altercation that occurred at a Cleveland nightclub back in October of 2009. Braylon finished the season with 53 receptions for 904 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns for the New York Jets. The Jets made it to back-to-back American Football Conference championships in 2009 and 2010. In a 2019 interview, Edwards spoke fondly of his time in New York. When I came to the Jets, it seemed like they wanted to get me the ball. They threw it to me on first down. They moved me to slot. They moved me around a lot. It seemed at times when I was with the Browns, our playbook was stuck in 1993 somewhere. Edwards was also a huge fan of Rex Ryan's coaching style. Rex was a player's coach. I know that term is used a lot, but that just means he treated you like a man. You played well. You practiced well. He would tone down practices. He would give you days off. Little stuff like that goes a long way with players. We were able to appreciate that about him. So, in turn, we played harder. It was just a fun time. After the 2010 season, Edwards was a free agent and was looking for a long-term deal. The Jets simply didn't have the cap space to sign Edwards to a lucrative long-term contract. Deciding to bet on himself, Edwards signed a 1-year contract worth $1 million with the San Francisco 49ers. The contract would have increased to $3.5 million had Edwards recorded 90 catches or made the Pro Bowl. 49ers head coach Jim Harbaugh, who is a former University of Michigan quarterback, was cautiously optimistic about the Edwards signing. Harbaugh had this to say about his legal issues: "He's hit some potholes. You don't want that to spiral any further down. It's kind of time to start doing all the little things right that he knows of and he's capable of." He's a good guy. Despite the two having common ties to the University of Michigan, the Edwards and Harbaugh marriage didn't last long in San Francisco. Edwards revealed on the morning of December 27, 2011, that the San Francisco 49ers had waived him. A statement on his website read, quote, "I was released today by the 49ers due to my injury that required more time to rehab and didn't allow me to re-sync with the offense. I wish the 49ers organization the best of luck during the playoffs. I will be working hard this offseason to strengthen my knee and prepare for the 2012 season. Thanks for your continued support and for being such loyal fans." Although Edwards was viewed by some as one of the top free agents after the lockout of 2011, it turned out that NFL teams were largely uninterested in his services. The 49ers acquired him but didn't get much production out of him. Edwards played in 9 games and caught 15 passes for 181 yards, with no touchdowns. The days of Edwards being mentioned as a number 1 receiver were officially over. This would also be the start of the long-standing feud between Jim Harbaugh and Braylon Edwards. In 2012, Edwards signed a 1-year deal with the Seattle Seahawks. His stint in Seattle was short-lived. The veteran receiver didn't make it through the entire season. Edwards was waived by the Seahawks on December 4, 2012. Edwards was immediately claimed off waivers by the New York Jets on December 11th. He would go on to finish the remainder of the 2012 season with the Jets. The following season, Edwards signed a 1-year deal with the Jets for the 2013 season. People around the league felt that Braylon Edwards might revive his career with the Jets the second time around. That optimism was dashed when the Jets waived Edwards during training camp in August. This would officially mark the end of his playing career. In sports, we detail all of the negative storylines in an athlete's career, but we rarely champion or highlight the positive work that they do in the community. While in Cleveland, Edwards gave himself the nickname of the second most hated man in Cleveland. You may ask who owns the title of most hated in Cleveland sports history. The number 1 spot belongs to former Browns owner Art Modell. In 1995, he moved the Browns' beloved franchise to Baltimore. Ironically, Edwards would again have to take a backseat behind King James in the hearts of Cleveland fans. In the summer of 2010, during the decision, James would announce on national TV that he was leaving the Cleveland Cavs for the Miami Heat. Edwards would have to settle for being the 3rd most hated athlete in Cleveland sports history. In dramatic fashion, James would go from being one of the worst hated athletes in Cleveland in 2010 to being one of the most beloved in 2016. James returned to Cleveland in the summer of 2014 and led the Cavs to their first championship in 2016. Let's turn back the clock and go back to 2007. While with the Browns, Edwards pledged that he would pay the college tuition of 100 Cleveland high school students. The students would need to maintain a 2.5 grade point average and perform 15 hours of community service. This tuition pledge was valued at over $1 million. Edwards was no longer playing for the Browns or living in the city of Cleveland in 2011. Even though he had a bad relationship with the fan base and local media, he still stood beside those 100 kids. He invested in the youth of Cleveland when he didn't have to. Edwards' pledge was a significant step in developing the future leaders of tomorrow. He tweeted, "As the second most hated man in Cleveland and a man of my word, today I will honor a promise made to 100 students in Cleveland years ago. My Advanced 100 program sent 100 students to college on scholarships. I hope they enjoy and embrace their new beginning and remember to reach back and help someone else along the way." Edwards also went out of the way to let the media know that this was not just something to garner positive press coverage. This was something we wanted to do the right way and something I was going to be a part of until the end, said Edwards. I know that some of these kids could have easily steered off the right path or maybe wouldn't have been able to go to college at all without this. And I just hope someday they pay it forward. Braylon Edwards admittedly had his fair share of ups and downs in the National Football League. He was plagued by drops, perceived arrogance, and run-ins with law enforcement. On the field, Edwards had all the traits of a Hall of Fame receiver. Great size, good speed, and ability to make spectacular catches. But making the Hall of Fame takes more than physical ability. It takes perseverance, longevity, and a little luck. In 2019, Edwards discussed his ups and downs in his new book titled, Braylon Edwards, Doing It My Way. My outspoken life as a Michigan Wolverine. In promoting his new book, Edwards showcased his trademark charisma. He also partnered with ESPN to tell his story in his own words. In his book, Edwards explores his life through an honest and thoughtful lens. He examines both the highs and lows of his polarizing career in sports and broadcasting. Edwards openly talks about his life story, which includes returning to the University of Michigan to finish his degree, shedding light on the stigma of mental health, and his addiction to prescription drugs. Though Edwards never quite lived up to his potential in the NFL, we will never forget how he transformed the Cleveland Browns in 2007 For the first time in decades, Edwards made the Browns excited. Edwards provided the fans with spectacular catches, a magnetic personality, and helped the Browns reach thin wins. For all of these reasons, Braylon Edwards' 2007 season in Cleveland will forever be underrated. Thank you so much for visiting our channel. If you enjoyed the video, we encourage you hit the like button. It really goes a long way in helping the channel grow on YouTube. If you enjoyed this episode of Underrated, please check out a few of our other episodes here. Subscribe to the Barbershop channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we publish our latest content.